8,
You're watching
7,
Experience Comic Culture and
6,
Sales.
5,
Streaming live daily to
4,
Facebook, YouTube,
3,
Twitch, and Twitter.
2, 1.
Boom! Thank you, everyone, for coming back for another episode of Sketch Up with Mog and Mel. We've got a very exciting show again tonight. We have Mr. Travis Corwin, who's coming back with us with Philip Jin and Stephen Yu. And tagging along is Mr. Fish, one of our all-time favorites on the show. So don't go away. We'll be right back after this short commercial break. Hey, everybody. Thanks again for joining us. And we're waiting for for Mog to come on, but she should be here shortly. But did you guys hear about that human sex trafficking that got busted at San Diego last weekend? Yeah, very kind of surprising, wouldn't you say? But anyway, that's another topic. I digress at this moment, so sorry about that. Tonight we have Mr. Travis Corwin, who's here with us tonight. So let's bring him on.
Hello.
Hey, Travis, how's it going?
Hey, Mel. Pretty good.
Good.
Happy to be here.
Nice. So what have you been up to lately in this? Is it hot where you're at?
Can you tell? I feel like I'm kind of shiny.
Your forehead is shiny.
Yeah, it's been warm. So just to let you know where I'm at, headspace wise as well. I just got back Tuesday evening. I got back from a trip to the UK.
Oh,
so wow. I'm pretty jet lagged from that. I woke up at about 4 a.m. this morning because my body didn't know what time it was, and I couldn't get back to sleep.
Wow.
So I'm in that fog, but then also my Kickstarter launched today, and so I'm like uppers and downers with the excitement from that, and then sleep deprivation, and so I'm all over the place. But
was that a business trip?
What was that?
Was that a business trip to the UK?
No, it was just sightseeing, purely for fun. So my wife had a conference in London, and we just decided to sort of tack on a trip to that because her work paid for part of it.
Exactly.
And so we're
there you go.
We'll take advantage of that. So, so yeah, it was a great trip.
Why go for one purpose when you can go for two?
Exactly. So here I am. I'm a whole sort of storm of states of being and emotions at the moment, but I'm excited to be here and talk about my book.
Yeah, and we will get to that. Let's bring on our other guests. That way we can get them on here and see what they're going to be drawing here tonight. First up is Mr. Philip G. How you doing, stud?
Hey, I'm better now, Mel. Thanks, baby.
Looks like you got some new equipment behind you. I didn't see all that stuff before. Wait a minute, you're at work, aren't you?
No, I'm at home. I just have a stash of ink.
Okay.
Yeah, I have a stash of ink on my printer because I've got so sometimes I take private print jobs because I've got this printer here, and I've got 3 huge shows coming up, basically back to back. So I'm going to be printing a ton of stuff, and I just finished this commission, and I'm waiting for the guy to get back to me about it so I can deliver it. So it's kind of
okay, cool,
all over the place.
And what were you going to be drawing tonight?
I'm going to be drawing the shadow on 9x12.
9x12 on the shadow. Is that black and white?
I'll throw in some red.
Okay, throw in a little color there. Okay.
Yeah.
Right, and what's your starting bid going to be on that?
Let's start with 75, I guess.
All right. So if you some of you are familiar, you've seen Philip's work before, so you know it's going to be good. Hello, Derek. Hello, Garfang, Stevie B. Glad to see you guys in the house. Thanks for joining us. Next up, we have Mr. Stephen Yu, and there's Mog.
Hello,
Hey, Stephen.
everybody.
Missed you last week, but glad that you're able to make it here this week.
Yeah, we're getting married. Not Philip and I, but my actual fiance Rachel and I are getting married.
Because
I
I
thought
need
you and Philip were
clarification.
already married.
There's no way I'm gonna marry that guy, that cat hater. But yeah. So anyway, sorry about missing out last week's
No
show.
worries,
But
no worries.
here
We
we are.
understand all
So,
about that. When I heard that you were getting married, I told Mark, "Is he nuts? He's trying to do this, and not even I would try to do that."
oh man, it's been crazy. It's just like the Indiegogo thing ended, and I was like traveling like back and forth across
Oh, I know.
states.
Oh yeah.
And then now it's the wedding, and then starting next week it'll be like nonstop shows for the next 3 months. So I'm like, I just gotta just keep my head down and be okay.
You
with
love
it. Yeah.
All right. And what are you going to be doing tonight?
I will be drawing Jubilee from the X-Men. I'll do watercolor. It'll be 9x12.
Good
I
choice.
think.
Yep.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, part of the X-Men '97, which is just still hot, even though the series finished already.
Yeah.
Okay,
sure.
And next up we have one of the show favorites who's back here tonight, Mr. Go Fish.
What is up, everybody? It is
buddy.
Mr. Fish.
Mr.
Happy to be
Fish.
here.
It
Yeah.
is Mr. Fish to me now.
Go Mr. Fish is just where you can go check out my new book, Alice
There you
Lost
go.
in Wonderland, as part of Comictopia on Becker Kit. So,
How's the temperature in your area?
man, you don't even want to know. Like, it is
I've heard
so
a heat wave is
freaking
going
hot
across.
outside. It is like beyond fry an egg outside. It is, you don't go outside unless like you just absolutely have to. I'm so glad I work from home. Like,
Wow.
man, I would be running to the car and running from the car back into work or whatever. I'm so
We've
glad I just
had
get to stay here.
our weather here has been pretty, kind of nice. It is hot, but not as hot like we're like in the low 90s, but it cools down really quick in the evening. I've still been able to go I've been doing like these 12-mile bike rides, and I'm able to do that pretty comfortably because it does get pretty cool. But tomorrow it says that we're going to be starting to go back up and then eventually get into the hundreds. So we'll see how that feels. And what will you be drawing tonight, Fish?
I am doing a Thundercats drawing. I am drawing the mutants from Thundercats.
All right. Okay. You got that. And what's your starting bid going to be?
$50.
$50. So if you want to get that, get him on the board, or from Steven or Philip, you can go ahead and put that into the comments. And our next guest, I'm sorry, she's not a guest. She's actually my co-host. Hey, Mog. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, Mog.
Can you hear me? Mog?
We can't hear you.
Can you hear us, Mog? Say something. We can't hear you. But what are you going to be drawing tonight?
We can't hear you. Tell us what you're drawing.
All right, let me tell them. Okay, and then you can work on. Yeah, she's going to reboot. She will be doing Wolverine versus Deadpool, and that will start out at 125. All right, so she's hoping that she'll be able to finish that, and nobody bids on it, so she can take it to the Vegas show next weekend, where Rob Liefeld will be at.
She's always hoping for that.
I know.
That's like her go-to. Don't
Yeah,
nobody buy it.
Yeah, nobody buys it. All right, can you talk now?
Yeah.
You can?
There we
okay.
go.
So in your words,
Huh?
what are you drawing tonight? See if we're on the same page.
I think it's Wolverine versus Deadpool. I think.
Yes.
You think?
And I told everybody
Yeah,
that
you're
you're kind of hoping that nobody bids on it, so you can take it to Vegas next week and show it off to Rob Liefeld.
Who?
Who, he says. Who saw the
Who's that?
movie already? Did you guys see the movie?
Yo,
Nah.
Nope. I'll wait
I
till
like
the
the way
stream.
I like the way how Rob had a store in there
Yeah,
in that
that was
movie.
awesome. Yeah, that was good.
Hey, Steve,
Yo,
I watched The Swordsman. Didn't I tell you that before?
yeah, you didn't like it.
Yeah. But
Okay.
for you, you said
Okay.
it was
The end of that.
All right, but
choreography, right?
before we digress,
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Do your thing.
let's talk to Mr. Travis here about his latest project. Is Phil working on that as well?
Phil did the cover for it.
Okay. Yeah.
What feels like
Yeah, my part's
ages
my part's
ago
over.
now. Yeah, when was that? Was that 2 years ago?
I think it was.
Yeah, because
ago?
we did the cover before we did Finale, which was the book we put out last year, where he
Right.
did all of the art. So yeah, that cover was kind of the the initial connection that we made. And yeah, I enjoyed working with him so much that then we did a full book together.
I know you guys mention that quite often, that when you guys met, you guys just perfectly kind of clicked
Yeah.
with each other.
It was like
Was
destiny. Yeah.
it really love at first sight?
Yes. It was
I
destiny.
think it was, yeah.
I am
It
your
was,
destiny.
it was that prog rock connection.
That's it. I
We're
mean,
supposed to start a comic book band, right?
I can spot a drummer at 20 yards, and like, a good one is hard to come by. So
Can you really?
Was it the size of his sticks?
Whoa.
Wow. Wow.
It's not the
Wow.
size of your stick that matters. It's how you use it.
You know,
13
because
minutes in.
some of them, when you put those sticks in your pocket, some of them just stick way out.
I could tell his playing would be in the pocket. Let's say that.
Wow.
Wow.
I
Okay.
am in the pocket.
Whoa.
All right. So tell us about what you have going on with this new one that you just launched it today, right?
Yes, yeah, literally this morning just launched. So yeah, it's called The Canary That Named the Stars. It is the very first graphic novel script that I wrote. So we put out a book last year, so it's not the first one to come out, but it's been in production for a good long while. And yeah, there it is.
Okay, yeah, let's take a look at that.
So I'm excited to finally put it out into the world after all this time.
So who does the interior art this time for you?
Yeah, so I've been working with a guy named R.H. Stewart, who's a UK based, actually, coincidentally. That's not why I was in the UK earlier, but he's based out of Leeds, I think. And yeah, we just I found him online. I think at the time the website hireanillustrator.com, now hireillo.com. Found his profile on there, and yeah, it just sort of fell into place from there. Yeah, he's doing an incredible job. One of the challenges of this particular book was that I needed sort of two different art styles happening, because there's the main story, but then also kind of woven throughout there are these little short stories that are these like sort of myths about stars and constellations within this world. And so I wanted those stories. You just saw one there if you scroll up just a tiny bit. I wanted those to be in kind of like a watercolory, paintery sort of art style to like set them off from the other pages. And I assumed when I was first planning all this that I would have to get a second artist to do the different style, but Roy does both, and he does them both beautifully.
Nice.
Yeah.
So give us the the story. What's the story here? In general, give us an idea like what this is about. It's got a catchy name. I really like that. I really do like that. It sounds like it doesn't really leave you like too much there, but it does pique your curiosity.
Yeah.
So tell us what this is about.
Yeah. So the story, so it takes place in this fantasy world where the world has kind of lost its stories and art. So there's no sort of mythology, music, art, creativity. All of that is sort of missing from the world and has been for a really, really long time. And this story specifically follows this woman named Chell, who becomes the first person to see stories in the stars and in the constellations. And the book is basically about how she comes to discover this and sort of give these stories to the world, but then also what those stories mean to her on the journey that she's on to sort of transform her life, because she at the time experiences this enormous tragedy where her son dies and she's framed for his death, and she's sent away to this this sort of prison mining camp, and she's in the sort of lowest possible place in her life. And we see how this connection with the stars and finding these stories becomes sort of a lifeline for her to find a way out of the hole that she is in, as well as this sort of gift that she can then give to the world.
Wow. Okay. So you basically you're answering the question: what came first, the stories or the stars? Interesting.
Kind of. Yeah. I mean, it's an interesting kind of setting to play around in, because like the mythology that we have kind of comes from this really, really long tradition, going back centuries and millennia.
Yeah.
But in the setting of this story, there's kind of more of an immediacy to it, right? Like she's pulling these stories from a more kind of direct personal place, and so some of the stories are kind of woven throughout, where we get these little myths interspersed with Chell's story, and we kind of see how the themes of those echo the themes in her own life. And there's more of these sort of direct parallels and emotional connections to sort of this this one storyteller rooted in this new mythology.
Right, which is a kind of like an interesting take, because you have you as a storyteller telling the story of another storyteller that you're writing about, who is writing stories.
Exactly. Yeah, it is very much playing in that sort of meta space of like, there's a long tradition of stories about stories. Like artists love art, and so we like to make art about art. And so there's kind of a dialogue within that of
it's a long tradition. We love
relationship.
That's played out throughout history.
And it's kind of funny too that, like, for me at least, I always tend to return to things that I've written later and kind of discover new sort of facets of like things that I was sort of subconsciously putting into it at the time that I didn't realize. And there's definitely layers of like, because this was sort of also my entrance into writing comics, sort of me experiencing that kind of channeled into her story, and feelings about, the integrity of the stories versus sort of the relationship with the audience and all these different things. So there's all these sort of layers of like, the storyteller and the story, and how it's sort of both things feed into each other.
Okay, but what is her motivation for wanting to do this?
Well, part of that kind of gets explained in the third act, so I don't want to spoil it too much.
Understand?
But you know, on a more just sort of thematic level, a lot of what I wanted to, convey with the story was just how the act of creativity can be this like deeply healing sort of process, right? So like for somebody who is at the lowest point in their lives, having this experience of creation is survival at that point. Like you literally grasp onto it to stop from drowning in grief and loss.
So does
Yeah.
she end up? Is she just somehow know the story by looking at the star, or is she making up the stories as she look at the stars?
That's a really good question. And I think that's one that I want to kind of let people decide for themselves, because
I like that.
Yeah, like again, going back to this idea of just sort of like the meta aspect of it, of there's this question of like, where does inspiration come from and creativity and all this stuff, and like for me personally, I often feel like when I'm writing, whether it's music or comics or whatever, the inspiration sort of feels like an external thing that's like coming to you, and it's almost like you're just sort of this conduit for something mysterious from somewhere else, right? And so yeah, there is, it's a little bit of an open question of like, does she write the stories, or does she just sort of observe the stories and record them?
It's always nice when you can have something in there to give something for people to think about. And not just have the story start from A and then end at Z. That's nice, because you get a nice flow and you get a nice story. But when you can have it to be more engaging, I find that more interesting, and this story stays more in your head, and it just is a reminder of that story. And plus, it gets people to think, to question, whatever it is that you've brought up in there, right? So those are I like those kind of stories that can be engaging in that way. Now, we talked about this the last time too, that because you are also a musician,
correct,
right? And I see that you do have a bundle in there where you can get the digital. You can get an album of some of the music that you've put together with this. Tell us about that part of your Kickstarter.
Yeah, that I mean, that's kind of where all of this started, really. I've been a musician most of my life, certainly my whole adult life, and only very recently have I started kind of getting into the whole writing thing. And it really came out of wanting to sort of create lyrical inspiration. So the stories are more of like an underpinning for songs initially, and then they just kind of grew and took on this life of their own, to where I felt like I wanted to start sort of telling them in other ways. But for me, the two have always been kind of essentially linked together. So like the album and the book are two halves of the experience, and I really hope that people experience both. I mean, I intentionally tried to construct everything in such a way where like you don't have to do both. If you're just a comics fan and you're not into the music, or you're just a music fan and you're not into comics, whatever, you can do one and you'll get a complete experience. but they really are complementary in a way that I think will sort of deepen the appreciation of both if you do experience it that way.
Just the
And
same
what I like
album that's on Spotify,
about
Travis?
What was that?
This is the same album that's on Spotify right now, or is it a
Yeah.
new release that you've been waiting on?
Yes. Yeah, correct. Yeah. So the album actually came out in 2021, I think, three years ago now.
Okay.
And that was just, because of the logistics of getting the comic made. It took a lot longer than I expected, and so I didn't manage to get them to converge. But yeah, at this point now, it's I think the project is now complete and whole for people to experience.
Since it's the same one, I can attest because I listened to it because Travis and I met.
This is the
Brother
one you would
City.
have listened to, yeah.
Yeah, and it's good. So everybody should go listen to it.
Thank you.
And that's coming. And if you guys don't know, Phil is another musician.
Yeah, we were talking about prog rock in the pre-show, and that is, it's a progressive rock kind of concept album, in that sort of vein.
Yeah, and I wanted to say is that when I talked, because there is quite a bit of musicians that are creators as well, and I do like their take on how they seem to have a better understanding of how to tell a story because of the music that they write. They understand about like timing, about having those moments, pacing, and etc., tension, and all that.
Building that anticipation,
yeah, and a lot of writers, they don't have that experience yet, right? But you guys are bringing that from that field that you've already know pretty well, and I think it helps in that, right? And I've seen some of the better things coming out of Kickstarters are from musicians, so I think that's really cool that you guys have that and can bring that over and hopefully to share with everybody else. So that way they can see how that can be done.
I like to think so. I mean, especially with comics, I think there's a really strong element of rhythm to the way that comics work. Just sort of the breakdown of panels on page and how many panels and the way that your eye kind of is drawn from one to the next, and where you place a page turn to, as you say, sort of create those moments like that. That's something that I do think about a lot in music and in writing, is like, I think most great stories have a few really impactful moments that
you kind of
is sort of built around.
Right. Yeah. Because I'm okay. So right now, Mog has me watching this reality TV show from Korea called Real Men, and about these guys that go into the military. They enlist and they're going through basic training. Okay,
keep talking. I'm going to close my blind.
That part is not important. What is important is that even they have special moments in their stories where they kind of like just kind of take a break from everything, and then it's either like mom and dad come to visit, and it's this whole emotional scene just to get you to like these guys, to have that special moment so you can care for these characters and will continue to follow them through the end,
and that's
what you need,
right? Like you need those character moments interwoven with like the action, because if it's all action all the time, you don't have time to like invest in the characters, right? And so you have to have those little quiet moments where people can just sort of interact, and you also sort of get a breath a little bit from the action.
Exactly.
So when the action comes back in, it hits harder because
you got to be able to look at what just happened.
Yeah,
pick your jaw back up.
Yep.
Yeah. All right, let's take a brief look at around the room before we go to a break. Let's start with Philip, who's working on Shadow. Oh, I like that. I am a fan of the Shadow. I'm a fan of Pulps.
Very sexy.
I like that. All right, and Philip is looking for a bid of 75 on that, and he's going to throw in some color. So if you want to get that, put your bid in now, and you may just be the winner. And let's go to Mr. Steven, who's working on a Jubilee. Oh, wow, he's got a lot done already.
Nice.
I'm gonna color it.
And he's getting ready to color that. And he is looking for a bid of $50. No, I'm sorry, $80. $80 on that, and that includes the colors.
Ooh, nice.
And now we have Fish, who's working on Thundercats.
Yeah. And I'm about to start heading into the colors.
And he's about ready to head into the colors too. And you know that's going to turn out good. Now he's looking for an easy 50 on that. And that is way too cheap. How have you got a show coming up too, Fish?
A con?
Yeah.
I think my next con is in September right now.
Okay.
I think it's Small Press Expo.
All right. And so good time to stock up on these new art pieces, like maybe this sketch cover here.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we is looking for a bid of 50. Place that in the comments if you want that. Now let's go to Mog, who's working on Wolverine versus Deadpool. If you saw that movie, it sucked. Hopefully I'll get to see it again. No, I actually liked it. I'm not, and I'm not really a fan of the previous Deadpool movies. They were okay for me. I didn't really get into them like other people did, but I did like this one. There's parts of it that I didn't really care for, but I think overall it was a hit for me. All right, and yes, we do have a few freebies that we're going to be giving away today. So if you want to get in on that, put in #EXP Canary to get you qualified for that. And on that note, we will be right back after this short commercial break.
Join the party. Head over to our link tree to find all the links for everywhere the experience is all the time.
Ask your local comic shop to add Battle Quest comics to your pull list today. Whoa. Whoa. Did you miss it? Yeah, they can go by pretty fast. Let's slow down the footage.
Welcome. It's time to skim some comics. Miles Morales Spider-Man, I will just tell you that Miles is very important in his role as a vampire. So.
It's fine. If you like Hercules, read it. If you don't like it, don't worry about it. It's fine.
The art is still stunning. There's a panel, little spoiler, there's a panel in this where Chitauri first hits Lion-O, and he is the best "did she really just hit me" face I've ever seen put in a comic book.
Wow, live reviews of new comic books so you can be ready for New Comic Book Day. What is this? Oh, I see. It's Minute to Skim It. Part of the experience.
Hey guys, don't forget to hit that follow button to help us increase our followers so that we can continue to bring you excellent programming every week, like Minute to Skim It every Tuesday, 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And if you haven't done so yet, put in #EXP Canary to get you in on the freebies going on tonight. I want to thank Stevie B for putting Mr. Fish on the board with the opening bid of $50 on his. Well, that's not going to make it. That's not going to make it to the con, Fish. Sorry.
That's all right.
All right. So, Travis, you also I saw you have a pin that's also bundled up as a part of your reward on the Kickstarter. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah. So as I said before, there are these sort of little short stories that are like woven throughout the narrative. Those are the watercolory ones, and there's 3 main ones that sort of represent these sort of pillars of the story and certain characters within the story as well. And so, yeah, I thought it would be cool to sort of memorialize those in some cool little enamel pin designs. My goal was to kind of create something that I thought just sort of looked cool on its own, that like I would like to own and display even outside of its connection to the book. So it's just, you know, some nice looking, they're, you know, jewelry quality hard enamel pins that are just kind of cool on their own, but are even more, you know, sort of meaningful if you're familiar with the story and where they come from.
Right, because you have them as pins and stickers as well, right?
Yeah, one of the stretch goals for the campaign is going to be to make a sticker set for all of the physical backers. So those will just be included for free for everybody if we hit that stretch goal. And then the pins are available as add-ons, and you can get. There's 3 of them, so you can get each of them individually if you want, or you can get the set of all 3 for a little bit of a discount.
And those are cool designs for stickers or pins, I gotta say. You know, you got a dragon bee, a bumblebee, and then Shell herself, or Lo, looking at kind of like looking at being a stargazer there. So pretty cool. Very, very cool to get those. So if you back this project, you'll get the stickers. If you back it up physically, that is. If not, and you can also like purchase the pins there. Very nice. And you also have a catch-up package deal that if they get that, they can also get your first book of Finale, which I happen to have here. See that? That's awesome. Right. I got my own copy.
Yeah.
Okay. And I am planning to back
for
this.
People who don't know, that's the one that Phil did all the art for.
That's right. Okay. Well, you know, I was forced to get that cover.
Yeah. How could you not?
Yeah.
At gunpoint.
It's what he said. This is the one that you need to get, Mel. He didn't quite give me a choice on that one.
He's out there hustling. Love it.
Yeah, he's out there hustling. But you know what? I don't think he signed it. So now I got to get him.
Fair, that's the only cover.
No. Track him down again.
Yeah, you know, I got to keep that value up. You know, put it on eBay.
It'll be worth a lot someday, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
worth a whole $9.
To your
dozens and dozens of dollars.
To your point on the catch-up bundle, yeah, that was something that I wanted to offer to people. So all of the books that I'm doing, you know, that I've done so far and that I'm kind of doing going forward, all take place within the same universe. So there's an interconnectivity to them. I do want to stress that they're all standalone stories, so you don't have to read them all. You know, you don't have to read them in any particular order or know anything going into any particular one. But
you should read them all. You need to buy them all. You should.
Yeah,
you don't have to.
Kind of
You're not
just
a
like
fan if you don't.
Exactly. If you want to be a true fan, yeah. We're starting gatekeeping already for.
All the cool kids are buying them all. That's all I'm saying.
How many pages is Canary?
Canary is 78 comic pages. I originally, so as I said before, this was the very first comic script that I wrote. And I had no idea what the process of publishing it was going to be like. And so to just kind of have some versatility, I wrote it as like, it could be 3 single issues, 26 pages each, that could be, put out one at a time as floppies or whatever, or, bundled together as this sort of graphic novel thing. And yeah.
You have this very economically priced as well, right? Because just to get the physical of it with the album bundle is only $24. And you're talking about like 78 pages here. That's the $24 would still be underpriced for that many pages for just the book alone. Right?
Yeah.
So
I mean, I
you guys need to be jumping on this deal
as tempting as possible for people. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So that is one that I definitely think you guys should get, because I did read this and I really did like the way how the story was written. I enjoyed it, and I'm planning to actually back this project up and not force Phil to give me a free or tries to give me a free copy. I definitely want to support them on this. Okay, and I think you guys should too, right? And not to totally get away from that, right? But since we brought up Finale, and I'm pretty sure not everybody has heard about it, give us the quick pitch on Finales, just so that way if anybody out there is interested in picking the bundle up, the catch-up bundle, they'll have at least an idea of what that is.
Sure. Yeah. So Finale is a sort of post-apocalyptic adventure story where there has been this cataclysmic event that has caused all of the technology in the world to just die simultaneously. So there's no communication, no transportation, none of that. And our main character is this woman named Ausa, is on a mission to deliver a very important message. And so it's just her on a horse traveling across this post-apocalyptic wasteland, encountering bandits and things like that. And all the while there's kind of this mystery about what is this message and why is it so important. And you will, find that out.
I've been traveling on a horse with no name.
That's what it reminds me of. I kind of compare it to my take on like a Twilight Zone episode, because there's big plot twists and sort of like moral quandaries and stuff along the way. So yeah, it's a really fun story, and Phil did incredible art for it that fit the style of it beautifully. And so yeah, I highly recommend it. And you may look at it and then, see this sort of grimy post-apocalyptic world, and then look at Canary and see this sort of medieval fantasy world and be like, how are these in the same universe? And that's part of the fun. Is I'm not going to tell you, but I'm going to let you kind of piece it together yourself.
There you go.
Where did you grow up, Travis?
Well,
until high school.
Until high school?
Yeah.
We don't care after that.
We don't care.
A lot of different places. Well, yeah. So, I was sort of a military brat. My dad was in the Marine Corps, so we moved around a lot when I was a kid. So I was born in Southern California, but then we lived in Nevada, and we lived in Kentucky, and we lived in Tennessee, and then we moved back to California, and then I moved up to Oregon right around while I was in high school. So I actually consider Oregon, Pacific Northwest to be kind of where I grew up because I have spent the most time there. I did all of high school and college in Oregon, and now live in the Seattle area. So that's where I feel like I'm from. But if you're cutting it off at high school, then I don't really have a clean answer for you.
Were your
I feel like I'm from.
were your grades pretty bad?
No, actually, I was a very diligent student all through school.
Huh.
Yeah.
Even moving around, like it didn't phase it. Sometimes like each school has a different curriculum and everything. So
Boy, it screwed me up.
Fair. I mean, I just didn't have many friends, so I had time to study, I guess.
All his friends were in 4 colors and many panels.
I see. I see. Yeah, like back to the canary story. What was it called, Mel? What's the title?
The Canary That Named the Stars.
Yes, the canary that named the stars. Is it? Have you like seen it in real life? The power of, like, you personally saw it, the power of storytelling or some kind of creative endeavor. Is that why you put that as your theme?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's such an elemental part of my life. I mean, you know, talking about like what Phil was just sort of referring to in a facetious way, like I do feel like I grew up on a lot of stories, comics, you know, books and stuff. I was the kid that was like sitting in the corner reading during, you know, recess and whatever. And so for me, yeah, those early memories of sort of growing up with connections to stories and books is very, you know, vivid.
But it wasn't to the point where you saw something, either you experienced it yourself or you saw somebody go through something like the main character, actually something traumatic, right? That you saw it like firsthand, like, wow, this could help people.
I mean, I have to think about it. I can't think of like a one-to-one example off the top of my head. But I think it's more a dramatization of, you know, what I kind of feel at my core about these kinds of things. Like, I think something I channeled a lot into this story was, as I mentioned before, I've been a musician for a lot longer than I've been a writer. And I was doing in college, I got my degree in classical guitar. And I was doing classical music for a few years after that. And then I got this condition called musician's dystonia, which I won't go into detail about what that is, but it basically is this sort of neurological condition that affected the way that I could control my right hand, so that I wasn't able to play classical guitar anymore. And I very much experienced a sort of crisis of identity at that point, just with this thing that I had kind of devoted my life to for years and years, that suddenly was sort of stripped away from me. And the way that I was able to kind of tunnel my way out of that was through, you know, creativity in other avenues. So some of it was through music. I had to sort of reinvent the way that I related to music and, you know, the way that I played the guitar. But then part of that is what has led to me being a writer now and kind of finding, you know, these sort of, you know, stories out of that experience, to you know, give it some meaning and recontextualize that history. So yeah, if you want a real life example of that, it's not as dramatic. But
you felt something like it. Yeah, it was a loss, right?
Feels very, it feels very dramatic. for an artist in that position. Yeah.
But
So
just making sure though, when you're into college, you made friends there? You said at high school you didn't have friends?
yeah, I mean, I met my wife in college. Yeah.
Nice.
And I have a couple of friends from that time that I'm still in touch with.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's just that when you told the premise of this story, it suddenly made me think about like, there's this lady who went through some tremendous kind of loss, right? And then it just suddenly hit home where, oh my God, because I remember when I was in college, my sister, she got into a car accident. So it shattered her hips and everything. And the doctor's saying like she won't be able to walk, stuff like that, right? So it's a devastating type of loss.
Yeah.
And then she was recuperating. She was bedridden for at least 1.5 years, like literally 1.5 years. So I had to wheel her around. And like even using the restroom, I had to do everything because you're immobilized, right?
Right.
Especially after hip down. And then on top of that, she had these titanium tripods drilled into all her spine to keep it steady. I mean, to her pelvis to keep it steady. So you have an open wound 24 hours. So I had to clean all the wound around each of the tripods and make sure there's no infection. And then she's on blood thinner. I mean, she's on all kinds of meds. So she's literally going through something similar to the main character where it's dealing with a lot of loss.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember she was really depressed. But luckily at that time, I was taking a class called The Power, I think it's a religion and myths around the world.
Oh, well, yeah.
So it was talking about all the kind of stories. So similar to like Joseph Campbell, like Power of Myth and Symbols. I mean, everything, something's touching upon that. And each story had kind of a moral lesson that maybe you can symbolically or abstractly relate to. So every night I would wheel her out and then see the stars. And I'll point out, you see that one? And then I'll tell the story, like a Greek mythology. You see that one? I'll tell a story. Yeah. And then I think one particular thing I thought was that kind of struck with me with King Midas, with the Minotaur. So the reason why Minotaur was created was because King Midas didn't want to deal with the issue. So he hid his kind of like semi-bastard son in this thing, and he kept hiding it until the monster could not even be contained. So I was kind of telling her, you see that? It's like if you cannot face what you're dealing with, like your fear right now, it's going to become a bigger monster. So let's try to deal with it one by one. Something like that, like little stories like that. And I would always think about, how is this related to us? Let's talk about it. And I would do that every night and then build her from like the ground up. And I didn't even know what I was doing. So I think that I want to say your story does have merit. I apologize if I was like kind of interrogating you because I want to know exactly where you were coming from. But yes, and I'm glad you made that story because it does have a definite merit.
Yeah, great. Yeah, I really appreciate you sharing that story. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry.
Okay, let's take
it down, but yeah.
Wait, what was that?
Oh, sorry that I brought the mood down, but yeah.
No.
No, it was an interesting story.
Oh.
Yeah. I don't see anything wrong with that.
Take.
Okay, thank you guys.
Now, I do like what Stevie B wrote on there. He said he gave me a great marketing idea to sell ad space on top of Fish and Steven's clean-shaven heads.
Offended.
$100.
Offended. So offended.
I'm about making that Skrilla. I'll put your name on there. I got lots of space. I got a big head.
Yeah, that's a good sized canvas there to work on.
I'm here to tell you.
All right, let's go around the room and let's take a look at what we have, starting with Mr. Philip G. Working on the shadow.
Sexy. Sex, dude.
Getting there.
Making it very, very cool looking, very catching the essence of the character.
I know.
Nicely done.
Something about Phil, he really knows how to capture the essence of whatever it is. He can just.
Oh, thanks, Mog.
Just not cats, though.
It's probably because he likes working in the shadow.
Oh, I love that.
As a drummer, I'm going to rescind any sort of bump for that. I'm going to let that one go, Mog.
All right, let's go to Steven, who's working on Jubilee.
Jubilee.
And he's got the colors in there. Dang, he's quick.
Nice.
Yeah,
Nice,
she's got that side eye going while she's blowing that piece of bubble gum. And what is she saying?
She's saying, because she's Chinese, she's saying, what are you staring at?
There you go, bub.
Steve, you know kanji?
I'm staring at you. That's the proper response. All right, let's go to Mog.
Oh,
Working
I
on
was so
Wolverine
inspired
versus Deadpool.
by Phil
Uh-huh.
with his brushes and ink. So I'm
Okay.
emulating him.
Yeah. Chinese brush
Okay.
buddies.
I see.
Oh,
So
you
you
know-
decided to not work in the shadows
Wow.
What are you talking about?
because you brought your brush out into the light.
Wow.
I don't know what you mean, but yeah. Okay.
It's kind of weird when Mog
funny.
comes out of left field and we all kind of scratch our head. And then when I come out of left field for Mog, it's,
What?
yeah,
It's
what?
weird now. Yeah.
What are you talking about? Yeah,
Yeah, seriously, what the
Why
F
are
are
you
you
being
talking
weird?
I know exactly.
I don't understand what this shadow metaphor crap you're talking about, but yeah.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Yeah, I tried. All right, let's go to Mr. Fish.
Nice, dude.
Dun, dun, dun.
Nice.
Not one, not two, but three characters on
That's a
that
real
sketch
man.
cover.
Yeah,
And
for
that's
$50,
why it
dude.
already has a bid of $50. If you want to get the next bid on top of that,
There's only limited time to
55
work.
is what we
I can
will
only get
accept.
3 in.
And that is really low. Okay.
I will say, Fish, that makes me wish that I had picked Chitara to do, but sorry.
I'm saying,
Left you alone.
man, it inspired me. Like as much as we were talking about it and all the cat conversation, I got stuck on it. I had to do something Thundercats.
Well, cats are inspiring, aren't they, Steven?
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. Yes, they
They're
are.
very
Do you have
inspiring.
something to add? Do you want to keep going? Do you want to talk about that?
Yes,
We
he
can talk
does.
about that.
Yes,
We don't
he
need
does.
to cut the commercial because we can talk about it, Phil.
I think
All right.
that
And we
the-
will. That's what
the
we're going to do right now
independence
is we're going to
of
cut to
cats
a commercial.
and the sleek
So
of
we
cats
can start this up
and the way
properly.
that cats
Okay.
really
Yeah.
And not have to cut it
Yeah.
off.
Yeah,
Okay.
see, yeah. So
So-
you're wrong. I don't know what you're saying, but you're wrong.
When we
brother.
come back,
I'm talking about the love
it's
of
going to be a
cats.
cat
How
fight
can
right
I be wrong
after
about
this
the love of cats?
commercial.
La, la, la.
Jeez.
Did you know that Arthur, King of the Britons, and Monty Python and the Holy Grail was played by a famous Graham? Check out another famous Graham by following our Instagram.
Something is speaking to you. Buy more comics. Just at the edge of your perception. Buy more comics. Your senses fill with visions of vortices. 360 Comics. Slowly drawing you to one thundering epiphany.
360 Comics! 360 Comics!
The universe is telling you to shop with 360 Comics. Joe's got amazing stock from high dollar to $5 books from Silver Age to modern, CGC, variant covers, and more. 360 Comics every Wednesday at 9 Eastern, part of The Experience.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. Don't forget to hit that follow button. Help us increase our followers so we can continue to bring you wonderful creative content like Nick Baruchi's original art show every Friday evenings. And if you haven't done so already, put in #EXP Canary to get you in the running for the free giveaways coming on later on tonight. Now, before we get into this cat fight, I want to go to something that Stevie B wrote. He was wondering, when did this show debut? Have you guys celebrated a 1-year anniversary yet? And I gotta agree with JD. How dare you, dude? You've been here almost as long as the show has, and we are actually approaching the completing our 3rd year of SketchUp on the EXP channel. Come on. And I don't want to tell you, but pretty much the whole year, the rest of the year is already planned out. I don't really have to work at. Yeah, I mean, in other words, the episodes for the rest of the year are pretty much all set. Mainly I got all the the special guests that I'm going to have. There's a few open slots, but not much. So they're all set, and I've got some exciting episodes that we're going to do. Some special episodes that we're going to do. I think there's about like 4 of them before the year is over, and I'm not going to tell you what they are. Well, when the time is right, I will. All right, but just to give you a little idea as to how long Mog and I have been doing this, because it has actually been longer than 3 years. Briefly, okay. So when COVID started, and we were trying to figure out what to do, we went live. Just on our own, and then we got picked up by the Artist Alley Shopping Network, Tom Hutchinson's Artist Alley Shopping Network, and we were there on for a couple years, and simultaneously we decided to do another show that we called Draw and Bid, right? So artists could come and join us while we draw, and then people would bid on this stuff. I'd leave it up for about like a day. And we had a pretty good response to that, getting as much as like over 30, 40 pieces of artwork that people could bid on. And I was thinking about doing kind of like a special episode tribute to that, inviting everybody that had contributed to that show. Some people have been asking that I do that just for the shits and giggles of it. And I am planning to do that next year. And we may also we've never celebrated an anniversary for this show. So may plan for that as well. Since Stevie brought it up, we'll celebrate the 3-year anniversary. We started the first Thursday of 2022, I believe. Yeah, I think that's when it officially started. So that'll be easy to figure out. We'll do that with the first episode of next year for SketchUp. Right. Then we got picked up by SketchUp that's when we got picked up. So we've been doing this for almost like 5 years total running. Over 1,000 episodes if you count those all up. But so that's kind of like the history of Moggs and I doing these live shows. All right. Back to our regular programming. Who wants to start this cat fight?
Steve.
I was just
look
trying
at
to
that.
say
They're all
how
quiet now.
great
Hold on,
cats are.
hold on. Back up, friend. Keep it friendly. So, hang on.
What?
Just to be clear, Phil. Just to be clear, what was your original statement about cats that set this whole war off?
I said that cats are inspirational. They are independent and loving, but they show it in a subtle way.
No, dude. No. You're like you're playing mind games, my friend.
As I remember, he was minding his own business and you came out swinging, something like that.
No. That's not what happened. That's not what happened.
It's so what happened. I don't know. I think you just wanted to stir things up, Steven. I was trying to say how inspirational cats were, and you weren't having it.
So
Why do
you
hate
love cats then? So you love cats is what you're saying.
I love animals.
Okay, so if you were to come to my house, if you come to my house, right? According to the text that you wrote me, right? You would actually cuddle a cat?
It depends on my mood, because I'm like a cat.
Interesting. So you didn't write that you didn't like cats in text.
Oh man, there's so much I could say to this.
If I did, it was because I was trying to give you a hard time.
Interesting. So if you came to my house and I gave you my cat to hold, you wouldn't drop the cat.
Oh God.
I mean, why would I drop
Okay,
my cat?
you heard it, ladies and gentlemen. You heard it, ladies and gentlemen. He's gonna come over.
First of all, that's really mean.
He's gonna
Second of
hold
all,
my
the
cat.
only reason to drop the cat is to see if the old adage "a cat lands on its feet" comes true. Which I've never thrown an animal, Steven. Jesus.
Well, we don't know about that, do we?
That's true. You don't know. You're just gonna have to take my word for it.
Okay.
Well,
okay.
When are we going to see you? Let's see, Phil. Okay, we'll see Phil in September.
Jesus.
So we can give him a cat then and see if he'll drop it.
Perfect. I'll bring Shinji. Shinji loves the public. So there you go.
And by the way, animals love me. I'm not the biggest pet fan. It depends on the pet. But one of my friends had a cat who passed away this year, unfortunately, and her cat liked me so much. I would sit there on the bed. We would watch a movie, and the cat would just stick its ass in my face. That's how much it trusted me.
No, you know what?
That's what cats do.
In all reality, I think you'd be a really great cat dad.
I would be. I just don't want to own a cat.
And that's why you're a great cat dad. That's why. You're like that again. You're like that reluctant badass, dude. Like I think there's just gonna be that cart full of cats, and then you're just gonna be like, and then you're just gonna get up and you're gonna do something heroic. I see that in your future.
Well, I am a hero, so
the art thing maybe, but the cat saving thing.
That's where the real money's at. Is in the cat saving.
Yeah.
Is that a new comic that we just came up with? Cat Hero.
What? Cat Hero. There you go. Right
Cat
there.
Hero for hire.
Oh, dude, it's awesome. He's like an illustrator, and then all of a sudden, like the mob is trying to like kill some cats, and he just comes in and does his thing. Oh, dude, you're like the John Wick.
You do a Kickstarter for saving cats and show a little boob in it, you're gonna make millions.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. Show my boobs. Yeah, you're right.
Cats
bitch.
and cleavage.
I definitely will show my boob.
Steven boob. That's great. That's awesome.
That's great. Yeah, my boob or Phil's boob. I don't know. Sorry, Mel.
That's hilarious.
Hey, Steve, were you the guy who sat next to me during dinner, and I asked you the question, do you like hairy women?
No. Well, yeah, we were there. You asked Phil that question. You asked Phil. You asked Phil if there was a woman that was hairy.
Yeah, won't you get turned off?
Versus being not attractive, would you still like date her? And Phil said, yeah.
Yeah, like you were sitting next to the girl, right? And then I think didn't we say like
what girl?
Her, it's just like
just
made possible love.
The hairy one.
And then
there's a girl with hairy arms.
Steven, look at my arm. Look at my arm, right? Like this part here.
I can't see her arm. No, I see her arm.
Look at the screen. And then all of this part like hair like a man.
Yeah.
And didn't I ask you like how would you feel about
You
that?
didn't ask me. You asked the other bald Asian guy.
Okay, well let me
Question.
ask you then. How do you feel about that? Are you okay with it?
Oh man, there's so many things
No, I'm not.
to answer back with. But just for the sake of my publicity, yes, I will date a woman with hairy arms.
Really?
Yeah.
Because if I was a guy, I wouldn't. I'm sorry.
Well, it also depends on the hair. Like I've got a friend of mine that has very long body hair everywhere, but it's all like bright white. So like unless it catches the light, you can't really see it, and it's very fine. But like if she had like very coarse hair like my dog all over, that would be a very different thing, you know.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
I'm
what I'm
into that.
talking about. What about you, Travis? Come on.
No,
You like excessive body hair?
I mean, I think body hair is cool. Like,
No. I mean,
I don't prescribe to the idea that like, you know, women have to like keep their legs and their armpits all shaved all the time. Like, everybody's got body hair, right? Like,
yeah, of course.
cool.
Yeah. No, we're just talking like, you know, your own personal preference, like your threshold of hair. That's all, you know. Because for me, even on a man, I'm like, oh, dude, get away, you know. So
It's the main reason I'm straight.
wonder if Mel is so
I don't want to
smooth.
kiss anybody with a mustache. Just me.
Whew. All right.
Nuts.
I wondered why
See
you're
you
so
guys.
slippery, Mel.
What?
Mel's just like,
I was
just being weird.
I was wondering why you're so slippery, Mel.
Yeah, they're getting a whole body wax. Just leave my eyebrows, baby.
Mog,
okay.
Mog. Ilya is asking, do you draw body hair on your bodies?
If I have to.
Well, you're drawing Wolverine. He's a pretty hairy dude.
Yeah, he's pretty
Yeah,
hairy.
I'll draw some hair on his face. Oh. But anyway, back to the swordsman, Steven.
Why? You don't like it? So then that's the end
No,
of the
I want to
conversation,
talk
right?
about it. It doesn't matter if I like it or not. I still would
Okay.
like to analyze the movie. That's how I am, okay? So
Okay.
the thing is, the actor in the swordsman,
Yeah.
I didn't know this, but turns out he's in Real Man, the show that I'm watching,
Okay.
and he makes a late entrance,
Okay.
and he's legit good, like martial arts.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I didn't know he did most of the stunts and stuff like that.
But see that's the thing about like Asian like action actors. Most Asian men in Asia, like through schooling, have done some kind of martial arts like training. And martial arts isn't. And the problem with the United States is that we look at it as, oh, you did martial arts, it must be some like crazy mystic thing. But no, in Asia, it's like an activity. It's like a sport. There's nothing really like, you know, mystic about it. So it's like when what's his name? Won Bin.
Won Bin? Oh wow, you know Won Bin? Wow.
Yeah, he did The Man from Nowhere, and people were like, "Oh, he's amazing."
that
I was like, well, I mean, if you
so
did like taekwondo or any of that kind of stuff, yeah, I believe you can do some cool stuff.
Oh my god. I have to say this, guys, you know, disclaimer here. In my opinion,
He's hot. He's hot.
No, Steven,
Oh.
I do not think like that.
Oh,
That's on you. That's on you. Don't project yourself on me. So,
I do think he's hot. I'm comfortable enough to say men are hot. Anyway.
okay, well, I just want to say, The Man with No Name, if you want to see one of the best knife fight choreography, please watch it.
Wait, is that Josie, the Nowhere Man from Nowhere?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's, don't you agree?
I think it's the best. The only problem I had was when the guy swings a metal bat, he blocks it like this, and I went, huh? But that's it. That was it.
How? Show the block again, Steven.
He went like this. Okay, so
Why,
Phil,
what's
come here.
about
I can
that?
show you.
No,
see it?
I wanted to see it because your story reminded me. This is, you know how in Chinese martial arts are like, let's just call them legends. They're like urban legends.
Okay.
There's an older senior, and I mean an older senior in my Wing Chun Kun in Sacramento, and the legend goes that he was such a good fighter, and just was not afraid of anything. That, and again, this is like school legend. This dude was attacked by somebody wielding nunchucks, and the dude, in Wing Chun, you've got the, basically the wing on, right?
Yeah.
He would block nunchucks with his palms, and we were all just kind of like, that can't be true. That doesn't sound right. Things would break if that happened.
Yeah. And then?
But that's the legend.
Yeah. I mean, I've heard stuff like that, I'm like, all right, well, it's a legend, so.
I think Ilya's asking, can you show Stephen your artwork?
Yeah, Jubilee.
Oh, my art? Yeah.
Yes, please. Oh, nice.
Thanks. She's saying
The word balloon says, what are you looking at?
Yeah, ni kan sama. What are you looking at? Because she's Chinese.
That's so amazing.
Thanks.
I'm trying to relearn kanji again.
Uh-huh.
Not been one of the most difficult thing for me because it's a lot of memorization.
Yeah, it is.
And then I stumbled upon YouTube this sweet old man teaching kanji. Freaking love this guy. And he broke down everything. So kanji, right? It actually means picture.
Yeah.
And ji means sun, right? But it means it can propagate. So it's the ultimate form of picture. Is it pictography? Kind of like hieroglyphy. What do you call that? Pictography. Yeah, you can just look at it and then kind of guess the shape, and from that you derive meaning.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's just sorry.
Yeah, it's really cool.
It's
really cool.
Here, but yeah.
No, it's really cool. Like I was looking at the character for deer. It's actually a picture of a deer, but they rearranged it. So
yeah, it has doesn't have the word, doesn't have the head, like the
the antlers. Yeah, it has that too. Yeah, and then it has the body and it has the two legs.
Yeah, the body, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and then the word for fire is like a person, but then it has like the two dots for fire. So yeah, I like that stuff.
So cool.
Yeah,
and also there's the thing is, it ties in the languages between China, Korea, and Japan. We all use it.
Yeah.
So if you know the kanji, you can pretty much decipher all three languages. It's that good. It's that.
Yeah, I did notice in Hapkido and Aikido, they use the same characters.
Yeah.
It's
Everything is the same. It's like all the nouns are exactly the same. Just the way you put the words together and the grammar, that's the only difference in the pronunciation.
Yeah.
So here's what I found out. I was like studying this word called tong. In Korea we call it tong, right? But I don't know how you guys say it. But if you put this word adjacent to anything, it becomes a totally different meaning, right? So you know the word ki, right? I think you guys pronounce it chi.
Chi, yeah.
Energy, right?
Yeah.
But we pronounce it ki. So you put tong and then ki, it becomes life force. Now this tong, I was like, it's being used a lot. So you can actually, but the definition of tong means to. It's really weird. Have you guys ever made mochi?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You pound the crap out of it, right? You got to pound it. So it means to pound, kind of almost similar to, but pounding it's molding into something different, kind of like a smith. What does it think? A smith hammering.
Blacksmith.
Like a blacksmith.
Yeah, a blacksmith hammering is the action of that hammering to create something extremely refined. So that's why if you think about it, if you put that letter tong and then put the letter ki next to it, it means you built it. You built that energy to that level. So that's your own life force. And that tong is used also in shin, which is like your mind. So we say chongshin, which means your mental. So our definition of mental, if you break it down in the picture
Uh-huh.
word, is something that you actually hammered into. That
Uh-huh.
is your that means it's your mental state. So when we say you have 정신질환, which means mental disease,
Mhm.
the something that you actually built has gone wrong. You built it wrong, you know, kind of like hammered in wrong.
Oh,
It just
interesting.
it's just
Oh, that's
so
cool.
interesting. Well, how do you guys pronounce it? I think you know what I
Uh,
mean.
yeah, I would need to see the character in order to like know
Okay.
that. I was thinking about I watched Past Lives, and they're talking about yin yang, and
Oh yeah.
in Chinese that's yin yin yuan.
Yeah.
So it's kind of the
Pronunciation
same sound.
is similar, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
very similar. That's interesting. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I would like to learn some Korean. I think it'd be cool.
I think it's literally, if you know the kanji, you're pretty much 60% there. You don't really need to learn it.
Oh, interesting. It's like
you
Japanese. Like,
pick it up so fast.
okay, it's like Japanese. Like if you know a little bit of Chinese, if you know Chinese, then you can pick up Japanese.
Oh yeah, Japanese freaking easy. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you speak some?
Oh yeah, I lived in Japan. Our grammar is exactly the same, so it's easy.
Oh, that's cool.
But here,
oh yeah,
here, just look at the first one here. That's the chong.
Jinsen.
Jing, right? We say chong, but you guys say jing, right?
Jinsen.
Isn't it interesting?
Jinsen.
And then, by the way, this first letter here, it means wheat, right? Kind of like a grain. Does that mean grain? It's so weird how they use, because from the grain you make it and then it results into this thing. So
yeah,
why would you think like something with your mental or whatever ability that you build has the word grain in it? It's like
yeah, it's so weird, huh? Well, it can also mean refined too. That's another thing.
Yeah, it's refined. Yes,
yeah.
it can also mean refined, because refining it. So kind of like back to Travis, for the kanji itself, is an amazing. Every freaking letter has a story that resulted in that definition. So yeah.
Travis, I like what you're talking about with the music and comics. I always like, because I was I think it was like Daniel Warren Johnson was talking about I got was it the Power Bomb, and he was talking about like his love for wrestling, he was talking about how wrestling got interesting to him, and he was like, oh, comics is like the best form for it. And then I thought about how, it's so interesting. It's refreshing to hear that, because a lot of people go like, if I love this thing, then it would be perfect for a film. But I rarely hear how, like you're going like lyrics. Like, yeah, I think like musical lyrics goes absolutely great with comics. And it's just the way the medium is built. And so
I agree.
I really like that. That's like the way you thought about that. I was like, yeah, I wish that was talked about more. So
yeah,
that's great.
Because
oh,
go ahead. Sorry.
I think I like to think about any given media, in terms of like the things that they express and the things that they don't have to express. Like with a comic, you can have just an image on a panel that doesn't have to explain itself in any way, that can just kind of be, and you look at it and you sort of interpret it yourself, and you fill in the space around it, right?
Yeah.
And for me, at least, the way that I approach music and lyrics, I like to be kind of abstract.
Yeah.
Like even though, like with the Canary album, for instance, like it's technically a concept album, it's not trying to like spell out the narrative beat for beat. It's more about sort of the larger sort of emotional resonance and those kinds of thematic explorations.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's something that you can do in comics that like lets something be a little bit more ambiguous and abstract and open to interpretation, that like even in animation, the moment that you have to animate something, it has to become a little more concrete.
I agree with that. Yeah.
You have to start to kind of like put boxes around like what exactly it's doing.
Right.
And yeah, I kind of love those little unspoken, just a presentation of an image and just kind of let it sit there and speak for itself,
Yeah.
So I think that's a lot of what drew me to comics.
Well, yeah, and I really like the way that you and Phil had like paced the beginning of finale too. It's just like it opens up and it's like this environment. You're like, oh, okay, I don't know what's going on, what is happening, and then you think it's going to go one way, and then towards the end, you're like, oh, wait, this is like going a totally different direction. But you paced it really, really well.
Yeah,
and
thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome, man. I don't know. I just think that again, it's like too many people I've heard. It's like, oh, movies and animation would do like the best job. I don't know. There's something about like flipping the page and then there are these panels that you kind of sit there and you go, oh man, this is cool. And you just like absorb it. So yeah,
Absolutely.
It's wonderfully done.
Yeah, there's something really intimate about that experience, I think, where like you can kind of pace it out yourself.
Yeah.
You can decide to just linger on a page and just like soak in every detail. Whereas, it's almost, it's sort of divorced from like time in a way that anything moving isn't. And also to your point about the opening, that's always something I'm kind of drawn to in stories. I think it always hooks me in when something just kind of drops you into a setting, a place, whatever, and it kind of trusts you to kind of piece things together and figure it out a little bit on your own. There's kind of an authenticity to feeling like that world is just kind of there and it's existing and it's not going out of its way to like explain itself to you. It's just kind of unfolding in real time
instead of explain it to me.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. And I don't know, I think it really hooks you in because it forces you to do that little bit of work to kind of piece things together. So that's always something I like.
That also reminds me, at the end, your afterword. I really appreciated how you explain, because I was thinking about Sean Murphy was talking about in was it Punk Rock Jesus, where it's just like his like this personal experience he had and how it led him to create the book. And I was thinking about how your book does that too. Like at the end, you explain what was going on during COVID and how like you had truth and lies kind of just like battling each other. And I never thought about that. I was like, yeah, like we were inside all the time, and then we were just everyone had boxes to stare at, and the boxes were telling us stuff, and it's just like what was happening, what was the truth. And some of the narrative was like really positive and it made us go like, oh yeah, I totally agree with it. And then other narratives, it was just like you went out there and you're like it wasn't going that well, so it was hard to tell what was the truth. And you decide whether or not what truth you wanted to hear, I guess, so
exactly.
yeah
It's kind of the weird double-edged sword about stories, because so much of the reality that we construct in our lives is like based around stories. All the little stories we tell ourselves about who we are and what's going on in the world and everything, and there is that potentially sinister side to stories that they can manipulate. And that is something that I find interesting. Like it's easy to, especially like as a storyteller, tell that kind of rose tinted version of like, aren't stories so great and beautiful? And they are, and that's true. But then there's other ways that they can be used, like
they can be manipulated to turn us against our brothers and sisters.
Absolutely.
That's great.
And to a certain extent, we all kind of decide what stories we believe at the end of the day. Like, we can.
I don't know. I mean, I think there is a degree of, if you have enough money to push it hard enough, you can make people believe it, whether they choose to or not. Like, if you own the media companies and stuff, you can make us believe, applesauce is bad for you or whatever you want it to be. And
That's certainly true.
I think that's dangerous. But I mean, yeah, we should have some responsibility in it.
Yeah.
That would require effort.
Yeah,
Sorry,
not for me.
Sorry if that's cynical, but that's what gets me is that there are I would say that a lot of modern intake doesn't always require the kind of effort that we should be putting in.
Mm-hmm.
Just because something is told you, if it's fiction, maybe don't take it too seriously. If it's the news, maybe corroborate it with a secondary source from a legit source, from a trusted source. And if you really don't trust that source, maybe seek it out. It's easier to not put in the effort and just believe what you're told. Comics requires effort. Books require effort. Some TV requires effort, and some TV does not. You had said something a few minutes ago that reminded me of the Sandman Netflix series. People ask me, because I have Sandman fan art on my table, and people ask me if I've seen the show, and I say yes. Do you like it? And I say yes. I think it's beautiful, and my conclusion is, if you want to witness the story unfolding, you watch the Netflix series. If you want to experience the story, then you read the comic.
I like that.
We don't put in enough. Yeah, I don't think we put in enough. And of course, this is a very cynical generalization, but I just don't think we put in enough effort into the things that we should be putting into, which is why we have, I don't want to go down this road, but which is why we have things like generative AI, which requires no effort. I like comics because it requires effort. It shouldn't feel like effort, but it also depends on how the story is put together. Like, I don't believe that you'll hear this a lot. Actually, newbies, people who are trying to learn how to make comics, people who are learning how to put comics together or tell a story, sometimes you'll hear the phrase, it's like movies on paper, and I absolutely hate that explanation, because it's not. Stephen and I have actually had this conversation before, because I think both of us hate that assessment of comics. It's not movies on paper. It can be, but when you study comics mechanics, there are all these little things that you can do to, make the experience a little bit more involved. And there should be effort on the reader, but it shouldn't feel like effort. Like, when you walk to the store, you have to put in the effort to get your shoes on and walk to the store, but it should feel effortless because, you already know how to walk. You just need to walk, maybe 10 minutes to the store. That's the kind of effort that I think that, comics generally requires, unless you're reading, I don't know, From Hell, which requires a lot of effort.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I was saying earlier with, like, the way that you can just kind of have an image on a panel, and as a reader, you get to kind of fill in the spaces around it, right? And that pulls you into the story, because you become a collaborator. You're like part of the storytelling process, right? As a reader, it's not just something you're witnessing from the outside. You really are, like, in it, which is so cool.
Well, that's what made me appreciate your finale so much. Just, you and Phil working on it. It was like, it's really cool that on one part you are, you're like telling the story, and then it's like you put care and attention to, like, the beats. Like, I could see the craft at work, which usually people would say, okay, that's really bad, but no, I like that. I like being able to see, like, what the craftsman is doing. And because, like, you still feel what's happening. You can, like, the pathos and everything is there. And then on top of that, I know, like, Phil and I talk a lot, but it's just like having people like Phil, where, like, no, he cares about what he's doing. That like makes it special. So I really appreciate the work you guys did on it.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Steven.
Yeah, I'll definitely sing Philip's praises as a collaborator. Like, he really does care about the work,
Mm-hmm.
and he's not just gonna like vomit out the script that I gave him
Right.
point for point. Like he's
Yeah.
really gonna think about you
Yeah.
know what the story is that we're telling and the best way to do that, and you know put his own visual storytelling sensibility into
Yeah.
like really executing it in the best way possible,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
is honestly like a pretty rare thing to find, like
Yeah.
just
Absolutely.
to have somebody sort of care and put in that effort.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
really
I have
cool.
been so shocked to see the results that some of my friends that are writers and stuff have gotten from some artists that they've hired, and they're just spitting out the same basic 90s poses that they were doing 30 years ago, and you know, and a real attitude of this is what you get if you don't like it, and I'm like, I could not imagine not
Yeah.
trying to bring my A game to every
Right.
book that I'm working on. And
Yeah.
like, you hand me a script, I want to make it as awesome as we possibly can.
Right.
I want to make it as dramatic and as cool and as passionate and heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And like, you know, I want you to weep and cry and laugh. Like,
Yeah.
how do you just like, here you go, spit it out? Like, if
Well-
I'm that jaded, I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore.
Well, Fish, sometimes it's not the artist. The writer is the one who doesn't want to hear anything from you, and they just want you to be a hand. So
Yeah,
that's
true,
why
true,
there's
true.
no soul.
There are some writers
I mean,
like that, yeah.
That's
Oh,
a
yeah.
huge
Oh, yeah.
point as well. Yeah.
So-
For sure.
Travis is not one of them.
Yeah.
That's another issue that I've personally had. Like, the least impressive books I've worked on have been the ones where somebody is like, it needs to be this many panels from
Yeah.
this angle, and this
Exactly.
is bird's eye view, and this
Yeah.
is worm's eye view, and this guy
Yeah.
needs to be on the left, and he needs to be
Yeah.
taller than the guy on the
Mhm.
right.
Mhm.
And you know, I can give you that. Like, if you give me layouts and little pictures you've taken with dolls and stuff,
Right.
like once I get that idea in my head, that's all I can see. And
Yeah.
I will give you the best version of that I can, and I'll make it look as good as I can. But
Yeah.
I can't give you better than that
Right.
unless you give me a little bit of freedom to say,
Yeah.
like, this is what needs to happen on this page.
Right.
Let me come up with the coolest way I can to really hit all the beats that you want to hit and make it exciting.
Makes sense.
Not to be a downer here, but did we miss the commercial break?
You guys are having such a
Yeah.
deep, thoughtful conversation. I have no clue what you're talking about, by the way. But
Yeah.
Fish, that's
I
awesome.
I didn't want to stop it.
Whoa,
Oh yeah. That's sick.
And
That's
look at
awesome.
that.
that's awesome.
We are
Thank
looking
you.
for the next bid
Are
on
we
that.
showing our art?
55. If you guys want to put in that, we still got a little bit of time.
Ooh, Phil, that's dope, dude.
Mm.
Phil is
Cool.
looking for his initial bid
That's
on
awesome.
that of 75. So if you want to put that in, you still have some time. And then Stephen. Okay, we'll look at Mog.
Ooh, no.
Oh, there you go, Stephen, looking for a bid of 80 on that. Jubilee,
That's nice.
saying in Chinese, what you looking at?
What
And
you
the
looking
proper
at?
response to that is, I'm looking at you, babe.
Canceled.
And now to Mog,
Canceled.
Ooh.
Deadpool versus Wolverine.
All right.
See, I always like it
Looking for
when
a bid of
people push the.
125 on that.
What?
Sorry, I like when people push the fin back. That's really cool. The wings of his mask.
Mhm.
Every time I do that, I'm like, oh, Pikachu, you're so cute. Oh, Pikachu, you know, like, because he does look like a Pikachu for some reason. The thing.
It's such a ridiculous shape, but so iconic. It's
Right.
I have such mixed feelings about it. I love it, and also think it's so silly.
Yeah, yeah.
Where do you think Pikachu came from?
Peekabub.
Came from Wolverine.
Pika Bub.
Now I
Wow.
just want to see Wolverine with the like lightning bolt tail. Somebody should
Yeah.
do that.
Oh yeah.
Definitely wanted to now. Jesus, yeah. So,
then-
Steve,
And then
Yeah.
oh, go ahead. I'm sorry,
Wait,
Travis.
before you go on. Okay. If you guys haven't yet, putting it in now. # EXP Canary. We're gonna do these giveaways.
Yeah.
Ooh.
First up, what are we gonna roll for first, JD? Bring that up, please. There we go.
Ooh.
We gave one of these away last week, and we're going to give another one this week. And this will be the last one that we have. It's an original Hannah print that he happened to leave on his table when we were next to him. And of course, I took advantage of that.
Yoink!
Just for you guys, we're going to give it away. And the lucky winner. This was a limited edition print, by the way. Phil gets that. Not
Hey,
Phil
namesake.
G. Not Phil G.
Phil.
Let's see where is that. Phil Island gets that. And next we have Mog Park
Oh wow.
postcard for the Spectrus and Sabanian number 4.
It's just sketch card. Postcard is
Okay.
like a big one, right?
Yeah, that's the Spectrus and Sabanian that we're showing right now.
Yeah.
Which
Cool.
is kind of a postcard. The other two, however, are sketch cards. That was from the Penny for Your Thought. Was it Penny for Your Thought? No, what is it called? Penny?
Penny Drip.
I forgot.
no
But
idea.
it's from BDI. It was one of
Something.
the earlier books that Mog did a cover for when we broke into
Penny
this
for Your
industry back in
Soul.
2017. Penny for Your Soul. There you go. So we're going to roll for that now. For the Mog goodies, that will go to. Yay! Roll it again.
Roll it again.
Wow.
I don't know
We
why.
can't give nothing to that short circuit.
Why does it always happen like that?
That guy's
Our
a
own
scammer.
stuff.
Ilya!
There we go.
Woo-hoo! There you go. And we have our two winners for tonight. And you still have some time to get some bids in. If not, if these don't, if who doesn't have a bid? Steven and Mog, if they don't get a bid, those pieces are going to be going to the shows where they will be priced much higher than what we have them here.
Yeah, this is going to be a $200 piece if I take it to a show, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah. mine's
Phil,
probably
Phil,
gonna
you
be
just
more.
want to make sure that you fill in the form, which JD will be putting up here very shortly. And that will get you to put your information in so that way we know where to send it to.
Hey, as an artist, I have a question to you guys, except Travis. Okay, sorry. When you draw the figure, do you sometimes draw it like bottoms up, where you draw the feet first and then you just go ooh, up like that? Do you sometimes do that?
No, I've tried it
I don't do
before,
that.
and it's a wild journey.
Where do you normally start? That's my question. Because we all like tend to have the places that we start
Exactly.
at. Where do you start at?
Yeah, where do you start?
If I have to draw
Anybody?
a full figure on a page,
Yeah.
I will mark where the head's going to be, and I will mark where the feet needs to be, and then I'll draw my pose because I need to know that one, it's going to fit, and two, depending on the angle of the camera and the body position, that my proportions are going to be correct. If I'm drawing more structurally realistic, if I'm exaggerating, then it doesn't matter as much. But I need to know that it's going to fit in a certain area.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it depends. I've started to draw the torso first.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
I always start at the shoulders. I don't know why I
interesting.
started in high school, but like when I get that angle across the shoulder set, I just can throw everything off of there. Now, if I have to hit everything in a certain area, like if I have to fit the whole character in this panel, then I will like rough that out and then like circle out the hands and the feet and stuff and make sure everything fits within that and then fill in from there. But usually I start from those shoulders, and like when I do the faces, I always start from the eyebrows out. I don't know why, but I do it
I
every
do that too.
time.
Yeah,
You
it's
mean, like,
fun to do that.
Yeah,
like-
I mean, like I start with a circle of the head and stuff, but especially when I'm inking, it's always from the eyebrows out from there. Eyebrows, eyes, and then on to the rest of the face and the head and stuff.
Yeah.
Huh.
I
When
can
I
make the
do
hair
draw,
work, but I got to get that face right.
when I do draw, I like to start at the hips because that's where you can control. For me, that's where you can control everything. Hey, why are you
Canceled.
laughing?
Canceled. Canceled.
I thought this was a
All
family
I
show.
draw are hips. Just
I
two
have no
curved
idea what
lines, a
these
little
guys are
squiggle for a
talking
belly
about.
button. I'm good.
JD writes, Mel's hips don't lie.
Mel
You
does
can only
really have
see
a
them
nice
now.
Yeah, but yeah, I think I like Phil's idea. I should do that. That's cool that you do a little dot at the end for where the.
Yeah, I just mark where I need to mark, but then when I draw the actual figure, I do the head and the gesture of the shoulders and stuff like that. So, yeah, I'll do that. But like if it really obviously depends on what I'm drawing.
I usually always start with the head, and then lately I notice it's just not good. I don't like it, so I have to switch my brain to not focus on it so much. So like I would draw from like the end of the feet, and then I'll just climb up. But that's like a weird way of thinking. And I think I'm gonna hybridize Phil's and fish to the shoulder, and then head is the last now. Especially when I draw men now, I have to realize that for some reason it always works if I draw the head last. I don't know why.
It's something I picked up from a guy that was teaching me how he drew portraits in pen, and it blew my mind that he could do that without any pencil lines. And he starts with just little bitty tick marks and gets like a little tick mark for either side of the head and then the top and the bottom, and just works his way around, and just like where the side of the eye is, where the top of the eye is, where the nose is. And eventually he's got enough little landmarks laid out to put it in.
Yeah.
And that sped up my portrait so fast. And I wouldn't get lost like doing an eye and then the whole thing is out of proportion. That sped me up so much. And then I started challenging myself to work in ink the way he was doing. And now I've gotten really good at it. Now I'll like sit there drawing characters off of TV and stuff with my brush pen while I'm.
Oh yeah.
If I have
do that
time to
too.
relax. I don't have a lot of that, but it's great practice, and it makes me depend so much on my line and get comfortable with it, or fix it if I screw it up and not get too precious with it, which has sped up my work a lot.
Okay.
Yeah, that sort of thing I started doing that in. Oh, sorry, Don. Go ahead.
Mog, what size is your piece?
7 by 10
Ilya
inch.
is asking. Huh?
7 by 10 inch. 7
by
by 10 inch. Something
Really?
like that, approximately.
Okay, there you go.
I mean, I have to when I draw
approximately-
2 figures, I have to kind of do it small so I can
It
squeeze
doesn't
everything.
look small. It actually looks like 11 by 17, but hey.
Wow.
I stopped eating nuts, Ilya, because I ran out. It wasn't that big of a bag.
We had nuts.
Yeah, I did. Well, I was eating them.
I didn't know we had nuts.
Don't anymore.
Mug, you should know that we usually tend to have nuts around here.
But yeah, I want to hear Phil.
There's always at least one hanging around the house.
No, there's usually at least 2.
Oh, Mel, the dad.
I
joke
wasn't
today.
trying to go that far with it, but you know.
I think this is the
Low-hanging
farthest
fruit.
we've gone away from PG-13.
We actually, I thought we only had 1 nuts. It was like the peanut in the store.
Hey, that's right. Okay, JD brought up an interesting thing on there. Andre Campan, I think he's got about like 1 day left on his his War Lion Kickstarter, and JD's brought up the link on there.
Get out there and
it's
back
a,
it.
It's a
and share it.
fantastic story. We've backed it, and so should you. It's one that
First
we
day.
highly recommend, along with with Travis's Canary book, which if you guys didn't see that comment earlier this evening, I did back that project too, when I believe while I was eating nuts.
Thank you, Mo.
Is it the salty one or the honey coated one?
No, it was the Hawaiian sea
Japanese
salt
one?
Mauna Loa macadamia nuts.
God. Hey, don't eat that. Oh my gosh, I was saving that for a rainy day.
Well, it's
What
raining.
the F, man? Seriously?
Mhm.
Oh, now I'm really upset. Okay, but go ahead,
Well,
Phil.
Yeah,
Please.
I'm worried
What?
now.
Continue your insight. It sounded amazing.
4 minutes left,
I mean,
guys, to get any last minute
it's a little off
bids.
topic now. I was just
4
commiserating with
minutes.
Fish. I was bonding with Fish when years and years ago when I got back into doing figure drawing sessions on the regular. I stopped using a pencil and I took out a dip pen and a vial of ink, and I drew everything in ink. And I was always pretty good with ink because I picked it up as a teenager, so I'd tell myself I had ink. But when you do what you're doing, I found that it teaches you a great when you use ink, you have to be confident anyway.
Yeah.
But man, when you're doing figure studies, anywhere from 2-minute poses to 30-minute poses, and you're using ink, you teach yourself to look for the most important things to put down on the paper first.
Oh
You teach yourself how to because I don't do the size method. So everything is based off of angles. If the top of the head is here and the shoulder's like this, then what's the angle from the top of the head to the shoulder? What angle is the shoulder at? What's the shoulder's relationship to the belly button or the knee? That sort of thing. And so when I get people come up to me and they want to know how to get started in ink or whatever, I just tell them stop drawing in pencil. You sit there and have fun and just draw in ink. Who cares if you make a mistake? It's not like you got to show it to people.
You just got to be fearless when you do that stuff and don't worry about making mistakes, and then just learn from it, and you'll have more confidence and your art will be more free. Let's take a look at what Mog has going right now. As we go into the final round. We've only got a few more minutes left where people can get their bids in, and they have requested to look at your piece. And there you have it. It's about a 7x10 size, even though it doesn't look like it in the picture there. But we are looking for a bid of 125 on that. And let's go to Steven. Yes, it is a long sword, Ilya. So long that it doesn't fit on the page. And here's Jubilee. What are you looking at? Okay. Looking for a bid of, the opening bid on that is 80. There's no feet on that. It really captures Liefeld style. I totally agree with you.
Thanks,
all right,
Mel.
and now we go to, there it is, the shadow in the classic black and red.
That's cool.
There you go.
That's beautiful.
That already has a bid of 75, so we are looking for the next bid of 80 on that. We've got about a minute left. And last but not least, we have Thunder. There you go.
Shadow.
That has a bid of 50. We're looking for 55 on that. Now, next week, Fish will be back.
Yay!
With Sarah White as the co-host, because Mog and I will be going to Las Vegas to meet up with Rob Liefeld, Marat Michaels. Fang Fang will be with us, and so will Louis Bravo, along with some other artists. So if you're in the area, go ahead and come out and check us out and get a chance to watch the Deadpool versus Wolverine movie again with creator Rob Liefeld. Yeah, how's that? And the week after that, Sean Lenihan comes back to host the show, as we won't be back yet, as we'll be in Chicago for Fan Expo. And we got some exciting things going on there if you guys happen to be over there as well. All right. Any last minute bids? Now's the time to put it in. You can start typing now. Other than that, I want to thank everybody for coming on tonight. Appreciate and love you guys. Had a lot of fun. The cat fight was ridiculous. The side conversation here was even more ridiculous. You guys are getting all crazy and everything. And we will see you guys in 3 weeks when we come back for Sketch Up. Good night, everyone. Thank you again.
Good night.
Good night.
What do you call the place on Spider-Man's wrists where the webs come out? His website. I hate myself for writing that joke, but you'd make me feel so much better if you just visited our website. We have links to our merch, new release lists, all the show info, and so much more. TheEXPLive.com.